are lucky enough to have a speaker today, our own congregation member, Lynn Huiskamp, was thinking last night how to introduce her, and she is so superlative, I can't really do it. If you know her, you know why, and soon you will know why if you don't know her. So there you go, Lynn.
Thank you, Maureen. That leaves a lot of possibility in that description. And so yeah, I was like 4 years old or something. I've been up here a couple of times, not like this though. And I want to just kind of do a informal, let you know. Both of my daughters, I want to say our daughters, but our daughters are here. Ellen is in the back. Can wave your hand. With son Vernon. He's about 1.5 years. Ellen has been a speaker recently. And my second daughter, Jane, is outside right now with her young son, Ellsworth. And they may come in at some point and you may hear them. So if you hear them, just offer them a little love and peace. The title of this talk is really what I'm going to deliver. It's going to be a case study. And the case study is me. But if you know about case studies, it gets pretty, kind of objective. And that is going to allow me to talk about my grief in a way that hopefully I won't melt here. But really, I found it interesting as I've been traveling through this. I will talk about the grief event, not in detail, but in a bit. Okay, so what are our objectives today? I'm going to set the table so that we can talk about these outcomes. I think you need to understand how it is we're measuring things. So you're going to get a lot of background before we get to the case study. So we're going to talk about lifestyle medicine and what it offers to patients. Answer the question, how can healthcare offer this? How can they reimburse it? And how can we break even? So you're going to hear a lot about U.S. healthcare too. The big one, this is where I'm going to spend a lot of my time. How can lifestyle medicine measure lifestyle behavior change? Then we get to the case study where hopefully I'm going to show you how, at least in my mind, I was measuring what I was going through this lifestyle medicine lens. And a little bit about what I've learned and what I'm doing. I like the verb tending grief. I don't, there are all kinds of words you can try to use, and we do use, are you getting over this? Are you getting through grief? I don't think you ever get over some events in your life, and they're part of you. So you sometimes tend them more than other times. Okay, so lifestyle medicine, and I tried to spell out some of these abbreviations that we use a lot. What is it? Well, it is a medical specialty. It's only been around 20 years. And note I wrote, it is reimbursable. This is a thing that insurance does reimburse. It engages a wide variety of patients with physical, mental, and emotional concerns. If I were to ask if anybody has those, I think we could all raise our hands. And this is important. The last helps patients learn, practice, and become confident in changing daily lifestyle habits. That's a lot about what we're going to measure. So why? Why is this important? Okay, here's the facts. I think our healthcare system is awesome with acute care. If I have a gallbladder attack, if I break my arm, if I'm having, any number of acute things, we are great. We are great at that. But the facts, if you look at the next point, 90% of our U.S. healthcare costs are attributable to chronic physical and mental conditions. And then ironically, from the American Heart Association and the American Diabetes Association, all kinds of big healthcare institutions, they state the first line treatment for chronic health conditions is lifestyle change. So if you know how our healthcare system is set up, again, great in so many ways, but our waiting rooms are naturally full of people with chronic. So me going in to see my provider for that 6-minute exchange that I get, how are they going to address my lifestyle? It's an impossible task. So, we try. People like to say our healthcare system is broken, and I think everybody would agree with that. but the people in it are not broken. We are not broken. So I'm going to show you how lifestyle medicine tries to address this. So I do work at Western Wisconsin Health, and I have to give a shout out to, not even a shout out, I just have to give some gratitude to Allison. She was the CEO when I started there, and we started trying to implement lifestyle medicine in 2019, mostly by her optimism and allowance to, sure, we'll let you try to see how to do this. Well, we have grown exponentially, not in an easy way at all, not at all. But what we do is we do this as a team approach. So we have a medical director, we have a behavior specialist, that's me, we have a registered dietitian, and a medical assistant. We do what is called, and I have to give you some lingo because it's very important in this space in which we practice, we do shared medical appointments, SMAs. And that is not, I can't call them group visits, that's something totally different, but to exist within our healthcare, you have to have certain codes, billable code, and shared medical appointments is a billable code. However, it only will reimburse for the MD, and very small, because these are group settings in which there's a lot of discussion, and so the reimbursement would say that's a low risk. So we're going to give you a little bit of money for that. What we do at Western Wisconsin Health now, we have at least 8 unique groups a week of these, small numbers. So you multiply that out, we see 50 to 80 patients a week. That gets us in the black. So this team approach. So I'm the one that develops all the curriculum. I do the outcomes. I do a lot of writing. The registered dietitian meets with people one-on-one to help them, navigate some very specific concerns of theirs over a long period of time. You never see a bill from the registered dietitian or from me. It's only the medical director or the medical doctor. And that's working within the system that we have. And we're doing it. So this is kind of where I come in too. I don't want to just do good work. I want to know, does it work? Are we successful? And of course, there's a lot of scrutiny on us to show this. Maybe not to standard service lines. They never get asked these questions because they're reimbursed and, it's business as usual. Just bring up your numbers. We're doing fine. But we need to show our work. And I can tell you that Western Wisconsin Health in very small Baldwin, Wisconsin, we are now a national leader in lifestyle medicine. We are on all kinds of, and of course you would never know this, but we are asked to be on all kinds of presentations, national gatherings of people, academia, institutions. We are sharing our tools, we're sharing our models, how we scaled this to fit within, a rural healthcare clinic. And we are welcoming scrutiny. Again, not your standard thing that any healthcare provider wants to do, but we are welcoming it. And we're addressing it. We're evolving. We're always working on our craft. We do outcomes, and we measure them after our 12-week program. That's generally what we have. And then at 3-month intervals. So we also keep people engaged. All of those SMAs, the small shared medical appointments, we have all kinds of them. We have maintenance programs where totally different curriculum. They're more like workshops where alumni can come in once a month. We just had one last Thursday, and it was super fun. It was all on purpose, and I had 10 people scribbling and writing things and talking, and so we don't just do an intervention and say goodbye, because lifestyle change is about doing something that's sustainable. So we want to keep people engaged, and we want to hear how are they doing. I will tell you our statistics are pretty great, but we don't have thousands of patients. So our N that you look at is pretty small, but significant. We get asked to speak about this quite a lot. But I will say we need more data. We need more people to be more sure about those outcomes. So here's a slide with a lot of things on it, but just kind of to show you how it is we So like I said, we have a 12-week curriculum, 12 plus weeks. We have a lot of patients that stay with us for 2 rounds, 3 rounds, go and come back again. And like I said, these unique shared medical appointments, right now I can tell you we have groups that come on Mondays at 7 a.m., 12 p.m., and 5 p.m., Tuesdays at noon and 1, I take that back, I can't even remember, Tuesdays at 1, 3, and 4 p.m., Wednesdays at 11, Thursdays at 1, and then we do one-off orientations 3 times a month. So we have a lot of opportunity. So we're trying to make this accessible to patients. If you're a working person, you can come in at 7 or 5. We make that happen. So you can see my efficiencies of scale. If you were to look at my schedule, my team's schedule, we have a schedule that our medical assistant does a really good job keeping us up to date with, that shows who's working, which group, and what is the topic. And we call it the rainbow. And we are running out of colors on our rainbow. It is so full. But way at the bottom of the slide, it says quintuple aim. This is like the moonshot for healthcare. And let me tell you what the quintuple aim. So the five things, right? Number 1, patient satisfaction. Bang, we do it. People love the quality of time that they get with us. Weeks, and they get to speak about what they're working on. So patient satisfaction, provider satisfaction. And we sometimes get guest MDs to come into these groups. They love it. They just really get to sit back like a fly on the wall, and they hear these patients speaking with one another. It is magic, I tell you. I can think of one day, I don't even remember what the topic was that I was facilitating, but one of our patients started talking about her mental health past, and she had a pretty significant one. And I'm going to get it wrong. Someone in here is Kate. Maybe you can help me. It's dissociative identity disorder, I believe. And she didn't go into extreme details, but the woman next to her, she was listening to her mate here, and she said, "Is that like schizophrenia?" And I didn't hold my breath or anything. I had faith in this group. This is a trusted place. And the woman responded, she goes, "Yeah, that's, it's pretty close like that." And then explained some more. And pretty soon, these 2 patients are understanding each other in ways they never would have. And that is beautiful. People see that, A, they're not alone, but also, there's other people. There's other people with other things. So it builds compassion, I think, around the tables. And that is just so beautiful to see. The insurance. So yes, we can reimburse with Medicare, Medicaid, anything. And in the general population, to have this kind of service, to meet with a provider, let alone someone like me or a registered dietitian for that length of time, you would have to have a subscription service. I don't know if you've heard of those, direct primary care, where you might pay a fee every month, and then you could come in and see the provider, spend an hour or 2, and then if there were any other diagnostic tests or procedures, you would pay for that out of pocket. So not accessible. Oh, okay, I got away from the quintuple aim. I'm so sorry. So I'll truncate that. So we have patient satisfaction, provider satisfaction. The third one, we want outcomes. Are we making people healthier? And that's a lot about our outcomes. The fourth one, reduce healthcare costs. Well, yeah, we're not getting reimbursed much, And if people are changing their behavior, oh my gosh, they're not going to be in at the hospital as much. That is going to reduce healthcare costs. And then the fifth one that was added is patient equity. Are we accessible to people? Yes, we are. It doesn't matter what your insurance is, or you can have no insurance. You can come see us. So again, it's not a specialty concierge kind of a medicine. So, okay. So I would say, yes, we are addressing the quintuple aim, which is a big deal in healthcare. Okay, my story in pictures. So very briefly, if this was me, that kind of does look like my house. Not too new, but fairly maintained. There's a prairie going on. It's comfortable. It's good. Life is good. A little over a year ago, June 2024, that picture doesn't even really do it justice. I lost my husband on a bicycle ride trip with me. I was with him. And, I feel like my house was on the ground. But I'm here. I'm here today. So something happened in the interim. And these pictures described them as best as I could think of. The one on the bottom left is, looking at things, examining. I mean, I have spent so much time examining everything, just stuck on things. And then maybe the bottom right is showing movement. I may not be building anything. And, I think with any big event in someone's life, there is that making of piles and moving them and putting something here or getting rid of something and then saying, no, I want that back. There's just so much of that, that just feels so unproductive. It just really difficult. So while I still am in that process, I kept thinking about our work, our lifestyle medicine work. So this is where I'm going to show you what I was thinking about. And I thought, I have become the patient, obviously, but I could see through my lifestyle and the things that we measure in our program, I could see how they were changing. I was picturing the graphs in my mind. I knew what was really cratering for me. And then later, as things went forward, I could really see what was supporting me. What were the lifestyle levers that were increasing for me? And knowing that this is unique for everyone, which is what I know in the practice. If you guys were all in one of our shared medical appointments, everybody would have a different story. We all have different strengths, and we all have different challenges. And I have my own thing too. But I could picture the outcomes, and for some reason that was I don't know, interesting and gave me optimism, because I thought of other patients that I've seen in pretty bad spots, and I see them, develop some kind of confidence. So I'm going to show you the case study outcomes, but first, again, another preamble. How do you measure things? Typically, these are things we measure in a clinic, clinical biometrics. We do that too. But I think you would agree with me that going back to, the first line treatment is behavior or lifestyle change. How do you measure lifestyle change? Well, it's really behavior change, right? And it's confident behavior change. That's how you do that. So how do you do that? How do we measure behavior change? Kate, how do you know? I mean, I think, Kate has a background in therapy, right? I mean, isn't that kind of what you're looking for? Would you say it's a difficult thing to measure?
Sure, because it's self-reporting most of the time.
Yeah. Okay. So what tools we generally have, you've all probably seen them. They are multi-page assessments that ask you, okay, how many minutes of moderate exercise do you usually get in a week? How many minutes of strength training do you usually get? How many fruits and vegetables do you usually eat, and how many times a day, and how many, just all of these things, which feel kind of judgmental, but and everybody has their thing in your workplace. But my sort of thing that I always got stuck on is, wow, how helpful is, like, how, if you come to me and you have filled this out, how do I go through it to help you? How do I track that? How can I put that into a spreadsheet? And then I know I'm going to give it to you again after our intervention or after our program. So you fill it all out again. How am I going to go through that and say, oh gosh, oh yeah, okay, I see that before You had 2 nights a week where you got 7 hours of sleep, and now you have 3 nights a week where you get 7 hours of sleep. Good job. Really hard to measure that, quantify that. And also, if you're answering all of these questions, why doesn't somebody talk to me about it? Or why don't you address this? If you're going to ask these questions, then help me with them. So, and this is where you get to hear my little passion. So this is my thing. So I developed a new assessment. It is not validated, but it is getting a lot of attention. Okay. So in lifestyle medicine, we track 7 lifestyle sectors, and they're listed up there. And you might think, how the heck do you do that? Again, multi-page assessment is what is generally recommended. And the thing that really gets me too is, you have a clump of questions that have scoring of 1 through 10. Then you have another group of questions that has a 7-point scale from very much agree to not agree. So the scales are all different. So I can't quantify it. So what we do, or what I've done, you see at the very top, it says Simple Health Lifestyle Assessment. So my assessment, again, not a great acronym, but we call it SHLA, kind of like SLA. And Simple Health is the name of our lifestyle medicine program. Okay, so that's where, and it makes sense. I mean, I like the name, but it is a lifestyle medicine program. And what this assessment measures is all of those sectors in how many pages? One page. So I ask there's a statement about knowledge, attitude, and skill. And I'm going to show you two. I have the whole assessment here that I think for time we can't go over it all, but I think you'll get what's happening. Because in public health, population health, we all know that we're often given information, or we have public service announcements that tell us, wear sunblock, don't smoke, get 150 minutes of moderate exercise a week, all these things. So a lot of us have knowledge. We have knowledge. That doesn't mean we act on it. So that's where the skill comes in. How do you practice? And then the attitude is, what is your confidence level at keeping this healthy pattern? And that's big. I might be practicing something, but kind of white knuckling it, or only doing it for a period of time, or because I'm got a wedding to go to, I'm going to change my nutrition until I get to that date, or, whatever it is. Okay, so and like I said, I do have this all, but this is how people would see, they wouldn't see that I'm measuring stress management, or that this is a K, S, or A statement, but so if you can imagine each one of these 7 sectors, there's 3 questions, 3 questions, 3 questions, 3 questions. So 21 questions or statements on one piece of paper. And the other thing I like about it, as well as on the back side of that paper, is something that we've all done. It's called GAD-7 and PHQ-9. The GAD-7 measures anxiety levels, and PHQ-9 is depression. And those are scored very similarly. So you see that 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's super elegant. The patients get that one piece of paper with these 3 assessments on there. Also very easy for our medical assistant to get this right into our Excel database. De-identify the patient, we have all of these cool little things that we've done. So if you look at stress management, in our case study, you will see this is a sector that was really affected, or that really affected me. So the first statement, I know how to balance work and or personal life. So that might be debatable, and you can see where to score. And then I practice positive activities to cope with stress. And we all have stress. And again, this is something we talk about a lot in our curriculum and in our group settings. The fact that we are all standing here, or that we are here, means we've done something to cope with the stresses of all the previous days of our lives. And that's great. It's great that we're here. Maybe not all of those coping mechanisms were great, and that's why we have other supportive people. So yeah, am I practicing positive ways to cope with stress? And then the A statement is, I have confidence in my ability to manage stress. Nutrition. I'm just going to give you these two sectors. So the first one, I know the best foods to support my gut, brain, and health conditions. I may get pushback once I do more qualitative work on this statement, but it's there for a reason. So I am hoping that if people read it and they say, well, gosh, I don't know, I didn't think about my gut or my brain, maybe I'll say I strongly disagree, or I somewhat disagree, because I don't think I do, or I don't know what that means. And then the skill, I practice healthy cooking and meal and snack planning skills. It doesn't say how many fried foods do I eat a week, nothing. And then the A is, I have confidence in maintaining healthy eating. Again, it says nothing about weight. It doesn't say, I think I can be a normal BMI, or I can lose weight. No, it's how are you walking around feeling about nutrition and food? Which I think is a pretty big deal. A lot of these assessments will give you a middle, like I don't know, or yes, no. And I very much did not want anyone to have that choice. I wanted you to maybe strike some, ambivalence in your mind, and then be a little honest. Which side are you on? And hopefully this is in a way that isn't as judgmental as saying, do you eat processed foods? Yes, I do. Is it, whatever. So very, very clear that I didn't want that. And this assessment has been in front of quite a few experts, and has been, tweaked and changed, but it's been pretty much the same for 3 years. I am not going to go through the rest of these with you. Oh shoot, I'm going the wrong way. Show you. So at the bottom, so schla, my schla. I know, I can't change it now. So it has 21 statements, so it's 7 sectors, 3 statements for each, 21 statements, and you can see the scoring. If you scored 1 on all of them, the bottom would be 21. If you scored 4 on all of them, you would get an 84. I did a baseline survey of this so that we could see, are we appropriate or not? And our healthcare employee population, so that may not be a normal representation of population of, in Wisconsin or the country, but their baseline score was 55. Okay, so now to the case study. This is what I was imagining in my mind. I don't know if you can really see that, but the green bars on the top, that would have been where I was before my husband died. I was a pretty thriving person, and I became very much not. So what you see on the far right is how much each sector dropped, what the percentage was. And this event, can be anything. And again, that shows because I kept thinking about this, I know my friend Heather heard me say this all the time, when I'm struggling. I kept saying, I mean, other people have this too. I mean, other people go through, why is this so hard? And if anything, it just increased my compassion for what struggles everybody goes through. And they can be anything, a relationship change or ending, any kind of medical condition that maybe you've lived with chronically, job change, job loss, housing change, loss, family illness. We have so many people that we see that are caregivers of some kind or another, maybe not, and not to their benefit, but it is what they're doing. Okay, so I don't know if you looked at those numbers, but what stood out to me are these 3 sectors that really plummeted for me. Stress management, nutrition. Who would have thought that? Purpose. And, if you look at purpose, I was really purpose driven. That's kind of my, I don't know, that's what makes me feel worth, I guess. I was a 12, really plummeted. Okay, so here's the fun case study, but that I kept thinking, when I was thinking my house was still on the ground, even though I was moving all these piles and not knowing, are things getting better? Are they not? They were. So here is kind of where I was last February, March. And I sort of put it at this point because I think it was at this point where I felt like I could be here on the earth. I did not actively want to, I did want to disappear. I just could not see into the future. I could not imagine myself in the future, and I did not like where I was. And I liked where I had been, but I couldn't have it. And that kind of goes with the purpose thing too. I think purpose is a lot about doing something day to day, but you also have a bit of a vision that's exciting. It's optimistic. And Jay and I had that. And, maybe, I don't know. I want to say we were arrogant to think we had decades, and we didn't. I don't know. I've thought about this a lot, like, do I want to live my life on the edge of, do I always want to blurt out everything I'm thinking because I might not be here tomorrow? No. Do I want to live in fear that today may be my last day? No. But I think there has to be, something out there. And I began to feel that, like in February and March. I can't see far out there, but I see examples. And that kind of back to my work people, I could see changes in them. I could see joy happening for them. So I knew it was possible. I had real examples. Do you notice anything on that right, the far right, the percentages? I'm going to... Sleep, yeah. Well, that was another event in my life.
Activity levels remain the same.
Yeah. My activity levels did remain the same. And I wouldn't have, I don't know. I think I learned that 20 years ago. Being physically active was so necessary for my mind. And, a lot of people said, I can't believe you got back on the bike. I'm on my bike about every day. It is like my therapist. And I can tell you so many bike rides that I stopped because I was sobbing. But somehow that was good. But the what? Yeah, the social connection. Look at that. This was my big learning out of this. So if you look on the left at my social connection, look at that. It's my lowest number. It's not real low, but it's my lowest number. And I have kind of always known this. I get too purpose driven. But what has helped me so much is all of you, so many people, so many earnest people writing to me every night. So very helpful. It was amazing how much of an impact this made on me. And so again, this universal thing that we're all in, life, and I love how my work kind of can encompass everyone and hear everyone. This is a slide in one of my curriculum pieces too on purpose, and I created this, so I should know all these words here. And I always knew, this is really, I get to present this often enough that I get to scrutinize it a little bit, like what am I doing, what am I not doing, what do I need more of? And as you can imagine, that growing and developing piece, always strong for me. That's kind of my gas pedal. And I always thought, that's at the expense of the one opposite it, G3, tending to satisfying personal relationship. But when I looked at it again after the event, that one, A2, I was always a person that felt quietly confident about doing most anything. Even though I have a lot of self-doubt about many, many things, but if you were to challenge me to, learn something or to do something physical, I say, I can do that. I can do that. I could not do I could not do life. I was drowning. Never felt that way before in my life. And I realized what kept me above were those personal relationships. So again, just, wow, big lesson. Okay, so again, how do we use this instructively? I'm calling this, calling SCHLA my multi-tool. Because like on the left, this was kind of my sum scores. So, I started out at 75. Where I dropped, 52, was about it, my employee baseline average. So what I like about this is, like if I were to bring this to someone else, they might look at it and go, oh, Lynn, you're 52, you're in the normal range, you're fine. I was not fine. So I really like that. I like that ability. It shows relative change. So whoever you are and whatever you have going on and in what areas, it's easy to visualize. And it also, through the practice questions and the confidence questions that we ask, it provides context. So not just, do I know this thing when I'm sitting in the doctor's office, and I can repeat back to you what I should be doing, but can I translate that to real life? And then over to the right, let's say this is a patient that I'm seeing for the first time, and he just filled this out. I can look at it like this, and standard operating procedure in a clinic is to diagnose, treat, and cure. So if I go in with that attitude, I may look at this and go, whoa, this guy really needs to, up his game on his activity and his nutrition. But no, that is not what we do. We usually say, what's important to you? What are you most interested in looking at? And this guy, this is somewhat of an example. He might say, it's sleep. And I look down at that and go, wow, your sleep is pretty good. But instead I say, why? And then he may say, I'm having nightmares again. And maybe I don't know his past, but I say, therapist? And he said, yeah, 20 years ago when I had a big, mental health crisis, yeah, I had this therapist. She was great. I really liked her. And I'll say, is she still around? And if he says yes, I say, can you reach out to her again? So I'm not offering him a pill. I'm not offering him here's Lynn's activity. This is going to help. It's helping figure out what's important to, listening and offering those supportive tools. And yeah, patients come back because somebody is listening to them. Maybe not giving them the perfect answer. Not giving them the magic pill, which wish we had those, but also in these outcome graphs and things. So we do these outcome graphs after a person goes through 12 weeks. And we literally show them the graphs and we go through them. And we'll say, does this look reflective of your experience the last 3 months? And sometimes they'll kind of go, oh, that's right. Yeah, I wasn't moving at all. And now I'm going to 2 classes a week. And yeah, I sort of forgot about that. Or yeah, my stress better. So it's just validating for them, and it feels good that the provider is seeing you're doing stuff. In one of the earlier slides, I put down that we're focusing on patient autonomy, provider enabling, and in those 6 minutes that we might have with a provider, that's really all that allows is really kind of a transactional bit. Like, here's my problem. What can you give me to solve that? It's not putting me in any empowerment. It's saying, please, expert, show me what to do. So this builds confidence, which is really what we're trying to do, is build confidence. It doesn't mean you have a perfect BMI or you sleep beautifully, but you have confidence. So this is kind of my lessons learned, or what I'm doing now. I'm making wherever I live feel more peaceful. I'm removing objects and activities I cannot be successful with. I'm asking for help. I'm connecting with others when they ask. I'm initiating connection with those who have been supportive. I wasn't very good with that before. And the last one is really hard, but I've been doing it a lot. I've been inviting connection with strangers. I'm trying to grow that social connection, because I had that whole vision of my future that's gone. So I'm trying to build that and move in my peace. So thank you.